Hello, guys. This is Tony, or Mirage, if you want to call me that. And I'm coming at you with a new video. Today's video was actually recommended in a comment on the last video I did about the night. This one says, great vid. If I can suggest something fake mink, especially Easter Pink and Maca. So I won't be talking about Easter Pink because that is a fake mink song. Nothing against fake mink. It's just this channel is focused on Drainism, at least this series is, and focusing on Drain Gang. But I was interested to see Maca in here because Maca is actually a song that Echo 2K is in. And it actually ties in with the motif of this video. So what is the motif of this video? It is keys, right? And the significance of keys throughout the Drain Gang's discography. So if we look at this new song, which is actually a really good song, Echo 2K says, I dropped the keys down to the street, don't you want to see how it ends? Obviously, there's two ways you can kind of look at keys. You can look at it as an actual physical key that you might use to unlock something. And so then the question is, what are we trying to unlock, which I'll get to. Or you can talk about keys being the substance, right? And like how that affects them, because they've obviously alluded to substance use, right? But I think it's more interesting if you view it in the light of a key being something that you unlock, right? And it's interesting when he says, I dropped the keys down to the street. He wants us to be able to unlock the same, and this is what I'm going to argue, spiritual understanding, the same self-discovery that that Drain Gang, that they've kind of said they've achieved, right? This kind of like nirvana. This is kind of expanded upon by other members, not just Echo 2K. Young Lean says, I got the keys, but I'll never find the lock. So here's like kind of an interplay on this idea of the keys. Like if you're trying to unlock something, if you're trying to unlock heaven, spiritual understanding, communion with God. Young Lean says he's got these keys, but he can't find the lock. He's got this understanding, but he doesn't know how to use it to its full potential. You know, so that could be an interpretation. In Glue, that's where we see Blade talk about how he's got the keys to the city. I hold the map, I got the keys to the city, you know? They're kind of alluding to the fact that they're a part of this club, which is Drain Gang, and it's an exclusive club. There's a song where they say, sign on the doors, Drain members only, you know? But he says he's got the keys to the city, and this is like Blade City, you know? I think the underlying message is that through Blade's lyrics, he can draw you to a closer understanding of the spiritual, and he can give you the keys to unlock the spiritual self that lives inside yourself, right? He can give you those keys. He can open your mind, right? When he says, I hold the map, I got the keys to the city, he's saying, I possess. It's kind of like a very like Gnostic view of like spirituality, where he's like, I possess this spiritual knowledge, and because I have this knowledge, with my key, I'm able to unlock spiritual enlightenment or salvation. That's a way you could look at it, right? In eBay, off the same album, it says, Ty Boy and Blade at the end, they say, found the key within. And this is repeated again in 333, which is a much later album. But this idea that the only way you can access this spiritual knowledge is through us, so we hold the keys, right? It says, I got the keys to the city. Young Lean says, I got keys, but I can't find the lock. Echo 2K says he's dropping keys down to the street. So it's like they're dropping knowledge, you know, of the spiritual, of finding purpose and connection in yourself, right? In Into Dust, Blade says 100 keys and they owe me now. Blade is saying, like, I'm showing people how to discover the spiritual side of the world and of themselves, you know? But he kind of wants respect for it, you know? He says, like, 100 keys and they owe me now. You know, this is one where you could also take the other interpretation where I said that keys refers to substances, right? But he says, like, lost my speed, now I'm slowing down. It's a double entendre. Like, speed can both be, you know, his movement, and it can also be the substance. So I think he's doing the same thing here. It's like, could be a double entendre for keys. Like, it could be the substance, but it could also be like the access to spiritual knowledge that he's providing, like the key to unlock it, you know, the key to unlock your own salvation, right? He plays upon this idea multiple ways. First, he says you can find the key within yourself, but then he acts like he holds the keys, and the only way to access it is through him. And so here he says, like, I unlocked the hidden level, then I ate the keys. Like, he's saying, like, I'm blocking you from being able to unlock this understanding, right? So he's playing upon this idea more and more. In Backstreet Boys by Blade, he says, no free keys, I drop clues. For me, this is kind of like referring to the fact that I've said Blade before is pretty vague with his imagery, you know? So he's not just gonna say in very clear words what his spiritual understanding is. He's going to be very poetic in how he presents it and very vague in how he presents it. But I think here he's being clear about his vagueness, you know? So he's saying, no free keys, yeah, I drop clues, you know? So he's saying, like, if you look deeper into the lyrics of my songs, you'll be able to find this knowledge or gnosis of spiritual understanding, right? If we go into Gatekeeper, he says, I'm a get behind the gate, yeah, like a locksmith. And he also says, I'm a keychain on your hook, just reel in. He's using this idea of keys to say, like, hey, I've given you the ability to unlock this spiritual knowledge and understanding through my music, and once you have that, you can keep it with you like you would a keychain. But he says that he's going to get behind the gate like a locksmith. So he's playing with the idea, like, he's not just going to allow anyone to access this special knowledge and understanding he has of the spiritual. He's going to get behind the gate. And assumedly, he's going to only allow people who have keys, you know, to enter into this place of spiritual enlightenment that he's kind of created, right? And that touches back upon Safe House. So if you want to know more about that motif, you can check out the Safe House video. I think it's fitting, right, that you watch the Safe House video, because in Insect Eat Everything, he says, lock on the safe house, throw the keys in the bin. So he's tying the motifs together of the safe house and the key, right? So he's saying the safe house, which is the place of spiritual enlightenment and understanding, which the key unlocks. So he's saying he's going to throw them in the bin, like he's going to throw them away, you know? So when he talks about throwing them away, he's saying, I want to cut people off from this knowledge, you know, or I'm going to be, like, vague and cryptic about it. In Sentence by Blade, he says, keep my key, gotta be focused on the ending. The ending is presumably, like, when you die, you would hopefully have some type of spiritual connection with maybe God to achieve happiness in the afterlife. So that would be, like, the key there. Here he's talking about the key that you can find within yourself to unlock this spiritual understanding. So that's kind of what I want to get clear here, is that there's, like, kind of two ways you could look at key. Well, actually 3 ways, you know. The first way is the key within, you know. You can look at it as Blade's personal key that he's kind of created for himself that allows him to access this spiritual understanding. So you can view it as a knowledge you can obtain yourself, but you can also view it as only a knowledge that Blade has, and he's, like, handing out, like he's giving out these keys. That's why it says 100 keys and they owe me now in Into Dust. So if we look further, I think this is kind of expanded upon in 333 when he says, I got the keys to the city. I got the key to the city. The city is Blade City. The city is the safe house. The city is heaven, you know. When Blade inserts a motif, you know, it's able to be connected to all these other motifs, right? And I think you can really see that an insect eat everything, you know. He talks about the insect. He talks about Trash Star. He talks about the safe house and keys. So this is kind of showing that Blade does actually connect all these motifs. In Finder, Blade says the lock is weak, I'm going in. It almost implies that he can like break the lock without a key. So this is a really interesting interplay on the idea of a key, because it's like, how do you access the spiritual understanding? Well, you need a key to access it, you know. Or the lock, which Young Lean actually refers to in Hurt, where he says, got keys, but I'll never find the lock, you know. So it's like, I have this spiritual understanding, but I don't know how to apply it. Blade is saying, like, the lock is weak. There's a way to access the spiritual understanding and the knowledge without the key. Maybe it's not so exclusive. Maybe the Strain Gang high school in which he enrolled, maybe there's other ways to enter. Right? So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about here when it came to the keys. I guess like a summary would be that the keys are what allow us to access the spiritual knowledge and understanding, right? Throughout Blade's lyrics, he drops clues to this spiritual knowledge and understanding. In Backstreet Boys, he says, no free keys, yeah, I drop clues. So yeah, thank you for watching the video if you made it this far. And shout outs to Asku for kind of allowing this video to be created. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you want to see some more content. Peace.